Today's video is all about Move, the L1 blockchain that's trying to take the markets to a whole other level. In today's video, we're going to be doing a deep dive into this project, looking into some of the fundamentals such as the team, the tokenomics, the utility, and the overall value proposition, trying to figure out whether this project has what it takes to make it to our portfolio. So you know what, let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins. Looking for opportunity, whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. But the bigger question is Move the opportunity? Guys, we're going to be doing a deep dive today, looking into the fundamentals here. We got to figure out whether Aptos should be moving into our portfolios. Obviously, guys, we're going to be looking at some of these details from a retail perspective. Does the team give us everything we need to be fundamentally bullish here? That's very, very important, especially nowadays that we have so many different projects. It's important that we truly understand the objectives, the value propositions being brought forward by the team. And ultimately, we're going to be using their website, all documentation, and all that has been given to us through all the socials to wrap our minds around what Aptos is, and again, its main value proposition. Obviously, guys, we're going to be talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly today. We're going to be looking at all different facets. I'm going to do my best to be very, very retail focused. Some of the documentation can get very technical, and this deep dive is not a tech deep dive. It is a Web3 crypto-based deep dive, which we got to talk about all the little crypto related concepts in order to make a full big picture or generic type of viewpoint here, because ultimately, although we want to dig deep, in the crypto concepts, not just the tech, because that's super important. Let's begin. Let's use the website as our main platform here to navigate. As we can see, pretty nice, good graphics, nice and clean. You can see that, just by landing here, you get a bit of a sense of what's really what Aptos is about. Move data and money, move money and commerce, and a few other nice bold statements here. Move commerce and value. So these bold statements, generally what they're referring to is what they're going to be bringing to the marketplace, as far as, what are they going to be reconfiguring here? It's the markets, providing stable coins, data, and many more. So this is what's quite interesting for a lot of people that like Aptos. Aptos is the fastest, most efficient way to move value globally. Okay, so we're talking about a medium of exchange of sorts. The future of money movement is coming. It's already here. Aptos was made for this moment. Okay, DeFi and all this, decentralized finance and value. Founded by the team behind Libra, Diem, Aptos brings that vision to life. So when we're talking about, founded by the team behind, the truth is that we got some heavyweight devs on the team, in the sense that have been working with Meta in the past, and developing the language, the Move language, which we'll talk about in a second. So instant, cheaper, and more reliable value movement built to scale for billions, engineered for traders, institutions, and founders who deserve industry best technology without compromise. Okay, so these are all things that should be building or painting a picture in our mind of what exactly Aptos is. So the website is doing a great job. Transaction fees are very small. This is what we want with these micro transactions, quicker transactions. As you can see, block times 85 milliseconds on block time, 724 million plus real world assets within their tokenized assets, 1 billion plus in stable coins. So they got a bit of runway there. 8.8 million monthly app revenue, so they're making some revenue here, which is good. And then a lot of transactions being processed and so on. So far we're getting the sense that it's a very institutional type of product, which is fine. The website gives us that vibe anyway. No degeneracy whatsoever being felt here. It's based on that concept. We're gonna see that Aptos might be lacking that retail buzz. And that's a very normal thing where we're talking about a business to business solution or a very institutional type of solution, software solution. They tend to, really, really lack buzz. But at the end of the day, their foundations and what they're bringing to the marketplace as a software solution is not marketed, and their target market is not retail degeneracy. It's not a meme coin. So the truth is, it seems like Aptos is on the total opposite end of that spectrum. And as you keep on going down, you see that their website stays clear to that vision. Stablecoin and payments. Aptos is home to the fastest digital dollar with native support for USDT and USDC and USDE. Plus, and then remember, USDE is part of that, DPEG scenario that did happen from the Athena DPEG over last week, plus an expanding network of payment partners around the world. Obviously, payment partners meaning type of banking solutions. Again, very institutionalized, structured finance, unlocking institutional, capital on chain. The capital markets, in my opinion, right now are being reconfigured right in real time here in Web3 by the leaders of the world. And this is, for me, something that I'm keeping an eye on because we're seeing the clear writings on the wall right now as evidence of such, things happening. Aptos supports tokenized treasuries, credit, and other real-world assets with infra capital market demand, and decentralized finance obviously has to have some sort of identity within this ecosystem, given the fact that, decentralized finance is the way we transact nowadays here in the Web3 space. Unlock the true power of DeFi, no gas, no limits, no parallel executions, finality, and composability for everything on chain. So interesting stuff. We kind of should be familiar what decentralized finance is. It's a decentralized way to transact with individuals without a third party. Okay, so peer-to-peer type of scenario, which is, in for the most part, we try to achieve here in this space as much decentralization as we can when we talk about DeFi. Okay, so this is what we're working on. This is what the space is working on: complete decentralization. There's always a spectrum of decentralization, and most projects right now are continuing. All projects are continuing to fight to achieve the complete decentralization of this space. It's going to take a bit, but we'll get there. As you can see, they got some logos, and you guys know that I'm not a big fan of logos, especially when they're just slapped on, like Chainlink on Oracle. Are they a partner trusted by global brands and other next generation unicorns, redefining the possibility on chain? Okay, so like Tether, are they a partner? Circle, are they a partner? Like, or what are these, like, individuals that trust them? Okay, trust. NBC Universal, like BlackRock, these are big names. A lot of these, VCs. We have Aave, and we have a lot of different. I would say this is a decent one, and this was a decent one. But there are Google Cloud that bothers me. Like, why are we even putting Google Cloud? Is that bring value to the decentralization of Web3? What is exactly is Google Cloud doing here? And then the integration of Amazon and Azure and all that. This is what bothers me a lot about when we see links. Because link, you have to know more. Like, if we click, nothing happens. So it would be nice to maybe have a clickable link here to something that explains what exactly Google Cloud is doing for Aptos as a strategic partnership. And I'll tell you this: it's likely it's not a strategic partnership. Neither is the Tether one or the Circle one. Okay, these are just because they basically have. They support USDT and USDC. Gives them that thought to put their logos up here. Guys, it's a tough call. It is what it is, guys. This marketplace is becoming very integrated with one another, and doesn't mean that they're all strategic partnerships. Good relationships, no doubt, but not strategic partnerships. Real world Aptos, real world assets. This is a hot narrative. This is a narrative of which we're seeing a lot of talk about, a lot of buzz around. And you'll notice that, as we conclude, scraping through the website just to get a sense of what, Aptos is, it starts to feel like it's just another L1 that is focusing on real world assets, right? In perhaps, in the capital markets and so on, and integrating in the real world capital markets. And, there's other competitors, there's other projects that are trying to spearhead this in the same way. And this is where we start to really ask ourselves, what does Aptos do to kind of like make itself, what's its point of differentiation? Discover what's being built. This is important. We'll take a look at the ecosystem in a second. Connect with the people behind it. We'll definitely look at the team. As you guys know, I always try to get into like who is behind it, who's the developers, the lead development, and the team in itself. Co-create with the community. Okay, good stuff. Obviously, we want ecosystem growth. You got to get the community of creators all involved and incentivized. Onboard users with ease. Yeah, we got to make that simplicity, guys. No friction. We have a few points of friction that a lot of people are worried about with Aptos, but it is what it is. Onboard users, ship fast, scale faster. Further, it is a modular programming tech stack, which is modular tech stack, means that you're going to have some flexibility, and not only that, you're going to be able to adapt a lot better and a lot quicker, and you're going to be able to customize a lot better and a lot quicker, which is obviously this modular programming or modular tech stack, separating the functionalities of the tech stack in separate components, has been a very common thing in the last little while. And we'll talk about modularity as we going forward. Okay, so we're going to touch upon a lot of these, guys. Just to let you know, I got the summary towards the end with the infographic and all of that. I'm going to put a timestamp below so that you can quickly go there if you just want to revisit the summary of this video. I'm going to be getting into a bit of detail here, but as a summary, I think those are great ways to just have like a little cheat sheet to just to remind yourself about what exactly Aptos is in the future. There's so many projects, guys, and it's hard to keep track of everything, particularly with so much new innovation coming out in this space, this cycle. Experiment, launch, scale. Okay, good, interesting stuff. And that concludes the website. The bottom of the website, we got the typical links. We have a links to the Aptos Foundation. We also have some documentations for developers. We have the GitHub for devs, and this is all building support for those developers. The bug bounty, that's pretty cool. And then here, ecosystem and community. So the ecosystem directory, which we'll talk about in a second, different events and so on. Ecosystem jobs. The foundation white paper we'll look at. I'm not going to get into too much detail there because it's a very tech-based white paper. It's not necessarily a crypto-based white paper. I'm a little bit disappointed that Aptos does not have a Web3 based or crypto based white paper. The typical ones that I usually see from a lot of the projects, over 120 deep dives that I've covered in the last little while, releasing videos and creating videos. There's only a handful of projects that don't have a crypto based white paper. It's always they may have both a tech based and a crypto based, but the crypto based white paper is super important, obviously, given that that's where the retail investor is going to be coming in from. That's going to be the gateway. So friction there is not the greatest, but tech is obviously great. But a lot of us don't have engineering degrees to really know the details behind the physics and the math and all of that. So a crypto based will just give investors that idea of what exactly they're getting into from a broader general perspective from the tech side, but more detail in the crypto based side. Okay, that's very important nowadays. They have a blog. Which is great, and so on. So we'll definitely touch upon all these little points as we move forward. Okay, so let's continue. This is the white paper download page. So I did go ahead and download, and there's some interesting things. And on the white papers, you'll notice that there's a bit of detail here. I'm just going to quickly zoom out so you can see. It gets very, technical really quickly. And there's not much with regards to tokenomics, the team, the value proposition, and all the little things that we look for from it's a very tech based. And it's great to explain, how the tech works in the blockchain, and prove how fast it is, and prove how decentralized, or prove, or parallel transactions. And it gets very technical, and these are attributes that we like to know about, but again, to really understand how they work, you got to get into the maths and the physics and all of that. And that's where you lose a lot of the investors here from the retail side of things. So I'm just going to quickly just show you how, really academic this paper really looks like. And of course, there's ways to really digest all of this, one of which is, just understanding that I'm getting through this deep dive from a retail perspective. But in addition, guys, there's tools out there that will help you digest a lot of this, information. Now, as we continue, I just want to focus this right here, these 6 points, right, are the same 6 points that are right here, and maybe a few others that were updated. I just want to quickly go through these because this will give us another layer of understanding of what Aptos is. We present the Aptos blockchain designed with scalability, safety, reliability, and upgradability as key principles to address these challenges. Okay, so the reality is that I like the fact that it identifies a problem and then it offers the solution. Okay, first, the Aptos blockchain natively integrates and internally uses the Move language. Let's talk about this for a second, because the Move language is a proprietary language that is being used by Aptos and is also being used by Sui, if I'm not mistaken. Now, with that, and I'm not sure if there's others, because sometimes there's, as you get a bit of adoption, you could have others. But for now, let's stick with Aptos. So it's a specific language that's meant to be secure, and to provide that sense of security for transactions and executions. The Move prover and formal verifier for smart contracts written in the Move language provide additional safeguards. Okay, let's keep it as that. Let's not go into more detail there. Move equals safety. Okay, great. Second, the Aptos data model enables flexible key management and hybrid custodial options. So when you're thinking about custodial options, it means what is it? Multi-sig and other options. This alongside transaction transparency prior to signing and practical light client protocols provide the safe and more trustworthy user experience. So alongside transaction transparency prior to signing, so this is important because you get a lot of that, pre transparency before signing, which is again part of that practicality that they're offering. Third, the to achieve high throughput and low latency. So here we're talking about speed. We're moving from, safety and transparency to now speed. The Aptos blockchain leverages a pipeline and modular approach. So let's stick with the modular approach here for a second. Modular approach, sometimes to truly understand what it means, it would be fair to suggest that let's understand a non-modular approach, which is, excuse me, it's called a monolithic type of blockchain. Okay, so the opposite end of the spectrum of a modular approach is a monolithic blockchain, one of which basically does this: execution, consensus, and data availability are all done in the blockchain in one layer. Let's put it that way, in a unified layer. So if we can isolate execution, running smart contracts and transaction in one modular, let's say, functionality, consensus, another different layer handling this functionality, consensus, validators agree on the order and validity of the blocks, and data availability. Okay, and we've been seeing a lot of blockchains like Celestia and all of this focus on this modular approach, but also focus on certain parts of this modular approach, like data availability, making transactions data accessible to all network participants. So this is where Aptos kind of like differentiates itself from monolithic type of blockchains. All of this would happen on a single unified layer without offloading responsibilities to separate modules or layers. Okay, so now that we understand what a monolithic type of structure would be, now Aptos is telling us, well, no, we're not taking this approach. In fact, we're going to take a modular approach. We're going to be separating those functionalities and allowing those functionalities, those layers, to be flexible and upgradable in a very easy way. Okay, so that's one of their value propositions. So specifically, transactions, dissemination, block metadata ordering, parallel transactions, execution, batch storage, and ledger certification, all operating concurrently, but modularly at the same time. Okay, so this is one of their things. Let's keep on going down. Number fourth, unlike the parallel execution engines that break transactions, basically atomicity, by requiring upfront knowledge of the data to be read and written. The Aptos blockchain does not put such limitations on developers. So again, keeping developers in mind, that's good. If devs are happy, everybody's happy. Fifth, the Aptos modular architecture design supports the client flexibility, optimizing for frequent and instant upgrades. We talked about that, so a bit of repetition, but not so much. Finally, the Aptos blockchain experimenting with future initiatives to scale beyond individual validator performance. So, scalability, its modular design and parallel execution engine supports internal sharding. Sharding is a way of scaling of a validator, and homogeneous state sharding provides the potential for horizontal throughput scalability without adding additional complexity for node operators. Okay, so we're getting a bit of an idea here, because the truth is that Aptos is another L1 that is focusing on real world assets, focusing on the capital markets, and this is their points of differentiation. Through identifying problems, they are able to basically show us the solutions that they provide. Interesting approach, a very common software solution type of approach, and I appreciate it. So pretty good stuff. Now, as I mentioned, the white paper is there, very technical. It does reiterate some of these points, and again introduces a little bit of the vision and so on, what they're going forward, their overview, fast, extremely high throughput, novel parallel transaction processing, optimizing for performance, again, upgradability, modular design, horizontal throughput, everything that we talk about, move language, everything that we've talked about. Again, a proprietary language, mostly focusing on security and safety and transactional security, logical data module. And these are the modules within, now they're talking about the modules within their modular infrastructure. Okay, so I'm not going to get into all of this, guys. It gets very technical real quick. All right, let's move on. See what's live on Aptos. So they have a pretty big ecosystem here. We have Aave. You can see that this is the EVM DeFi plays that are now on Aptos, right? Being that Aptos is supporting such migrations or such integrations, which is good. Amni Finance, we have Apton Labs, and a few others. NFT tooling, so supporting NFT creators and that kind of stuff. And we always think about NFTs as just images and JPEGs. NFTs are going to, in my opinion, are going to make a comeback, and they have been, showing us that NFT technology can be used for other purposes, much more than just images. We have gaming. Obviously, they were waiting for a resurgence of the gaming ecosystem. I don't think that this is where they're really focusing gaming, but you have to understand that even within gaming, there is an internal ecosystem within the games that tend to have an economy. So definitely, lands perfectly within the capital markets within a game, so to speak. Wallets, obviously, we need to have some wallets, and because ultimately it's its own L1 with the proprietary language, we're going to have some difficulties seeing Aptos supported across many of the popular wallets. And as you can see, ABC Wallet, Aptos Connect, they need to have their own proprietary wallet in this case to secure those functionalities, and a few others. BitGet Wallet, if you're interested, and that's that. Okay, so no mainstream wallets as I can see there. Tooling, overall generally providing tools for development. Stable coins, I'm sure we're going to find other stablecoin, Athena, Circle. We have Aro, Moneyfi, Ondo. Of course, these are big names within the space. Integrating some of these names alongside Aptos, which is obviously a big name in itself, is great to see these relationships or these integrations. So you can see that it's pretty established. It's not like it's not hitting the ground. Rarible is up in here. I'm surprised that it is an NFT marketplace, but it easily can become a marketplace for much more. But you get my point. Some launch pads, that's common to have within an L1. And infrastructure, we have AIOZ network. I like to see that. That's interesting. Streaming, storage, DPIN. It's a DPIN protocol, Web3. I like AIOZ, so I'm happy to see this. Aptos build and a few others. Crust. What happened to Crust? This is interesting. Storage for the metaverse. Interesting stuff there. And moving on, guys. There's lots of good stuff here. Bridges, and they got a full ecosystem. Now the problem is that nothing on here is really that native to Aptos because we near protocol is its own L1, and this is an AI perhaps integration or relationship. AIOZ obviously not native to Aptos and so on, but it's good to see some of this stuff at the end of the day. And none of these that are native projects to Aptos are really buzzing. It's not really, their ecosystem is not a buzzing one that has a lot of interest, right, from a retail perspective. And because of that, it's very hard to attract retail investment or retail mindshare. And that is, quite difficult in this space, especially as it being a very, institutional type product. Let's put it this way. It looks more like it behaves and looks like a business to business solution if you think about it. And in crypto, we've seen a lot of those type of solutions not get their fair share of attention. Okay, so that ecosystem is decent for what it's achieving. It just needs buzz. Um, Aptos tokenomics overview. This is where things get a little hectic. Okay, because number one, guys, they need to have a Git book and they need to have this information clearly spelled out and up to date. Blog posts and X posts on various things from 2022 is not enough. And unfortunately, this is what they got. This is the only thing that I was able to find. Okay, and I'm gonna do my best to go through with what I see here. You can see that earlier on in this whole since TGE, they've decided to have this distribution. Now I'm gonna just begin by saying this is that ultimately we are Aptos does have governance, but its governance at the end of the day is not very solid. It's not very well defined. This is one of the biggest criticisms behind Aptos. I'm not going to criticize Aptos any further other than saying that their governance or their decentralization behind their organization that is not very concrete to the point that we could say it's very centralized. But from that going forward, it is also stated that through governance, a lot of the details regarding tokenomics may change in the future. If they're voted upon and the holders want something to change, they will supposedly have the power to do so. So mainnet was launched in October 12th, 2022, and right around this time, this is when this paper was released, or this post was released. The initial total supply of Aptos token at mainnet was 1 billion tokens. Aptos will have 8 digits of precision, and so on. So what I want you to see is the community, 51%, and these tokens are for the most part in control of the foundation. So the foundation itself gets 16.5%, but these, you got to ask yourself, who is in control of the community tokens? Who decides how these are going to be distributed? How is this going to be decided upon? And I'll tell you this, the foundation, and we also have the Aptos Labs all up in there making decisions for how the community tokens get distributed, right? It's not necessarily behind governance because that even the governance, there's no DAO, and even within governance, there's no clarity, and this is a problem. It brings in levels of centralization and tokenomics that usually brings in a lot of uncertainty. Now the reason why you can kind of counterbalance the uncertainty here is because of the team being so well established and well known in the space, given that they're known for being core devs or devs on Meta and other bigger brands out there in the software industry. So it's like, do we trust that? Is it a trustworthy thing? It's a trust-based system at this case. If there's no DAO or governance structure, it's very difficult because then it becomes a faith-based system. So right now, I want to just put it out there. The community tokens are basically in control of the foundation. Core contributors, that's the team. And then you have the early investors. I just put it this way, is that it's very difficult to wrap your mind around the centralization behind the token distribution, right? If the foundation is not defined as a decentralized identity, and all of these belong to the early stakeholders, these categories are quite difficult to digest. Let's keep on going down here because you'll see what I mean. And again, guys, I'm going to summarize all of this later on As you can see right into this paragraph, a majority of these tokens, so we're talking about community and Aptos Foundation. The pool of tokens, I'm just going to try to put this both in the field of view so you can see what I'm talking about. The pool of tokens is designed for ecosystem related items. So we're talking about community, such as grants, incentives, and other community growth initiatives. Some of these tokens have already been allocated to the project building on Aptos protocol, which is understandable, right? They've been out for a bit, so they've already issued some of these tokens to grease the wheels, and and will be granted upon the completion of certain milestones. So again, as they're growing, as the projects grow, they're going to be given their allocation. A majority of these tokens, specifically 410, as you can see, million tokens, quite a bit. Is this million? This is billion? How many zeros here? This is a lot of tokens. It's million. Are held in the Aptos Foundation. So out of the community tokens, I just want you to add quickly mental maths. This number plus this number equals the community tokens. And 410, basically the majority of them, 95% or 90%, I'm just eyeballing that, just on average, just a quick estimate, are going to be in the Aptos Foundation, held by the Aptos Foundation. Okay, and a small portion, again 100 million, are held by by Aptos Labs, which Aptos Labs is a centralized business. It's a centralized organization. Okay, just being real about it. So then, if this amount of tokens are being in control by the foundation, and they already control 16 and a half plus these, and then I'm going to ask you this: what is the foundation? Define the foundation to me. The foundation is not decentralized. This is my problem. So when we're talking about a centralized organization, you're seeing it very clearly here that we're independent on the foundation and the members of the foundation to define exactly how these tokens are going to be distributed. You need to have faith in the team. This is a problem. So let's keep on going down. There's details here about how things are going to be distributed. Again, you guys could read. I'm not going to highlight every little thing. Go through that. Distribution scheduled for core contributors, investors. Okay, so at least there's a bit of a vesting schedule, as you can see. Let's just quickly go look. We're right around here, per se, November, right around here. So we've been ramping up a lot of the distribution lately, and it's going to continue going on until 2032, as you can see, but slow and steady. Emissions, started off at 7% annually, and they're slowly going to diminish that after every epoch. Maximum rewards will decline by 1.5% annually until it reaches the lower bounds of 3.25% annually inflation, and it will take over 50 years. Okay, so they have a long-term vision, which is nice and healthy, but then there's no doubt in my mind, obviously based on this chart, that you're going to continue seeing, risk of dilution in tokens entering the market bit by bit. Okay, and we're going to talk about, their max supply, the total supply, and their over. Actually, let's do that right now, just so that you can kind of put that into context. As you can see, they got a big market cap. It's $2.2 billion. Almost fully diluted, but not just quite. You can see the circulating supplies as such, and you can see that there. And then you got up to, about a third left to be distributed still to the market, which means that there is still a little bit risk of dilution. Now, what you're looking at right here is a funky little character which defines infinite. Now, for those of us that are in this space and understand what that means that there's infinite amount of tokens that can be minted. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be minted without a counterbalance measure, which is usually defined as a burn mechanism. That's usually how it happens. So a burn mechanism is a mechanism that usually is pegged to something, some sort of result of the chain activity. So, for example, the more the transactions that happen, we will see more burning happen. So there's a countermeasure. So that way, inflation gets controlled. You don't want to have crazy inflation, especially with the target of about 7%. So essentially, what I'm saying here is, as the network transacts, transactional fees will get burnt. And in that case, it will reduce the amount of supply entering the market, causing some stability there with regards to inflation. Guys, Ethereum works the same thing, by the way. It works the same way, just to throw that out there. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back. We're bouncing around a little bit, guys. I apologize. But this is the way you get the full picture, right? You kind of like bounce back and forth and try to puzzle everything together. So, back to this, we have risk of dilution for the next little while, and we have a small little statement somewhere in these points where you have something about a burn, and governance and such. Let's do this. Token holders who stake. Validators, operators propose securing the network, okay, receiving staking rewards. So that's the rewarding structure. That's how they're going to get some of those tokens emitted to them via the community tokens. Staking rewards are split between validator operators and stakers and are not subject to restrictions on distribution. So rewards are going to be there, guys, and in a systematic way. So not all tokens in the community section are going to be through, there's transactional on-chain commitments that through the reward structure for sure, that are not relied upon on the team per se. Currently, the maximum reward rate starts at 7%. We talked about this. These rewards increase the total supply of Aptos network and are dependent on the staked amount and validator performance. So as the validator performs better, you're going to get more rewards and so on. Transaction fees are currently burned. Okay, currently. So this is important at the current moment. Although this may have to be revisited in the future with on-chain governance voting. This is not really there established yet. All rewards and reward mechanisms are modifiable via the on-chain governance. Where is it? There is no governance just yet per se. Okay, and then this huge disclaimer kind of throws a curve at us, a curveball. This is not an offering or a solicitation of an offer to purchase tokens. This document contains hypothetical forward-looking and projected figures. See, this is where things start to get funky for me. Like, okay, I understand that, but where's the concrete aspect of things? If there's no governance, at least give us governance. If there's no governance, at least give us some clear detail. You gotta give and take. It can't just be this. It can't just be science fiction, right? It's science, no doubt, but not fiction. All right, let's move on, guys. It is what it is. Aptos is a little funky there with tokenomics, I'll be honest. Ecosystem blog, I like their blog. They're keeping it up to date. They got lots of good little things to read about, different narratives, what's coming up in the different apps and so on. They got the Aptos experience, Signal, Surprise. They got lots of good stuff here, if for reading and understanding where they're going. This is where a formal roadmap can kind of be overlooked, in the sense that if a blog that is well established, keeping people up to date with most current events, and sometimes based on timing and future, it's actually pretty good. I like that they're using it, not that it's been created and abandoned. So there is some good ones. The last one they posted was October 14th, and the one before that was the 8th and the 6th and the 3rd. So you can see that they're using it. It's not just dead in the water, which is for me great, keeping the system, everybody up to date. And I just wanted to run full circle back to those tokenomics a second. I apologize for having to bounce back, guys. It's just, when you're doing research, end up having so many tabs up and getting all locked in. But just want to show you what's really happening here with tokenomics. There's a lot of tokens that are currently going to be emitted until September 26th. We might cool off here when the core contributor aspect of things and the investors aspect of things. Look, I would expect that a bear market for Aptos would be brutal based on its tokenomic model. Okay, so what I'm expecting is that the core contributors, unfortunately, they're devs, they need to eat, they need to get paid, and it's true. And so do investors. They need to get the return on their investment. It's the truth. Whether you like it or not, it's valid. VCs, they have a business to run. But ultimately, because of all the tokens that have been released during a bear market and during this moment where we're waiting for Aptos and altcoins to wake up, as soon as they do and we reach a level where the prices are really hot and frothy, and if we get to those levels, you're going to expect that these guys are going to sell. Okay, not because they hate the project. No, because they're anticipating a bear market like you and I, and they're going to want to defend their gains. They're going to want to defend their position. So It's not about that if the core contributors sell, that means the core contributors don't believe in their project. It's not about that. Is that let's see if they rebuy their allocation in a bear market. That's the bigger evidence, or the data that we need to actually see if the team is still behind it. So I'm expecting a brutal bear market for a lot of projects, and Aptos being one of them, based on tokenomics. Okay, so it is what it is, guys. Let's just keep on going forward. I want to talk about the team in a second, so bear with me. I'm jumping around a little bit, guys. Hold on tight. I want to take a look at what they got going on. Let's see what we got there. We got here. We got their blog. We got a lot of little things here. Okay, let's take a look at their socials, and then we'll bounce around a little bit here. Their socials are doing pretty good. They have 661,000 followers, which is pretty healthy here, guys. Not bad. Their engagement could be better given their size, to be honest. Only 66 likes, 58 likes. That's pretty, small. And then this one, okay, is it because this person is well liked? Is why they got the amount of likes, because that was a repost. You know what I mean? So it's like anything that they post themselves doesn't get that much. Okay, this was pretty good. Move Club HQ, not bad, 102. But not getting that engagement. What's up with this one? This is not even. This is a repost. You get what I mean? Okay, this is their latest. Let's call it tech roadmap, which I want to talk about in a second. They got one that reminds me of that. So great. Happy birthday, Aptos, October 18th. 3 years in, forever to go. That's great. Definitely have a 4-year, 50-year roadmap with regards to tokenomics. So they definitely are here to stay, according to them. So yeah, they got a weekly digest. They got lots of stuff, but again, their engagement, their buzz, where is it? Like, this is their the Aptos Tech Vision. This is their little roadmap they got going on, which again, it would be brilliant of them to have um, a Git book, keeping all of this in one nice central location where people can do research and have it easy, no friction whatsoever. Like, it's pretty cool. Okay, this has got good engagement, a little party there happening, vibes, which is good. The team, we got lots of stuff, but again, it's hard to have the buzz for the retail investor when you're a very institutional feel type of project. Let's continue going on. They got some good announcements here from the Aptos Circle, USDC, and cross-chain transfer protocol support Stripe crypto products to launch Aptos network. Pretty cool. That's a good one. Nice relationship there. The chain of choice stablecoins strike again. Latin America with Bitso, bringing 9 million users access to USDT and USDC. This is where we're seeing again these capital markets wake up in different parts of the world, making US dollar a universal dollar across the world. Like, this is what people don't understand, is that being pegged to the dollar makes the American dollar global, especially, if we're going to start using stable coins as a universal currency. Look, Latin America is all over it, which Latin America, for the most part, does a lot of business in the dollar already. Okay, so Bitso, pretty good relationship there. Moving together for stronger security, we got chain analysis, greater trust, and enhanced compliance experience across Aptos. Great stuff there. Nice relationship there with regards to security and such. And then staking. APT is a great way to secure the network, earn rewards on Nansen AI. Just dropped a detailed guide to get you started. So again, another good relationship. We're looking at relationships. They got some good ones lately. And then this one. Okay, this is the one that kind of bothers me a little bit, because again, I have to come down hard on this, because I see these types of bigger mainstream software logos out there, Google, Microsoft, these ones, that ones. There's no doubt in my mind that a lot of these guys eventually will secure great relationships, such as this one. My question is, and again, feel free to comment in the comment section below and let me know what you think. Is this a partnership, or is this just maybe a relationship, in the sense that they are using Azure products? Web3 doesn't use centralized um, cloud-based services. They should have their own DPIN infrastructure for that, or partner with a DPIN infrastructure. Microsoft is not DPIN. Microsoft is centralized. Okay, let's be real about that. And then they have the Aptos using Microsoft's AI tools to help build Aptos. So Microsoft's AI tools, is that again an AI solution that is Web3? No, it isn't. So I don't really like this statement, personally speaking, because not only is do a lot of individuals use Azure, Microsoft Azure. I can have an Azure account. It doesn't mean that I'm a partner. I'm just making it very clear of my logic here. And then in addition to that, if I use an AI tool that Microsoft has, does that make me a partner? Or am I just using their tools? This is the thing. I, I'm really on the fence around this, and I've seen so many logos like this. And in my opinion, guys, this is not a strategic partnership. Again, let me know what you think. I'm being very critical here because we got it. We have to be. That's the way it works. These logos are meant to generate buzz, and unfortunately, not with me until there's something really valid there. Let's continue going on. This is their Medium blog, so they are also keeping this one somewhat active. October 3rd. I don't know if they need both because they got their own blog and now they have a Medium blog. Medium is good for SEO and good for, again, more engagement. It's another like a social media platform for bloggers per se, so it's not bad. I'm glad to see that the Aptos Labs is handling this. It's not just the foundation. Aptos Labs obviously being the centralized identity behind Aptos. And then again, back to this concept of the roadmap. They don't have an official roadmap on a Gitbook or on their website. Again, when you're talking about a project that is very centralized in one way, and again as an organizational way, and then you have the vision of being you know having governance. Governance doesn't allow you to have a roadmap that is very clear. Centralized does, but you have to take ownership of what you say. See, there's the catch-22 there. Being centralized is great because you're quick, you move fast, you make decisions without nobody's opinions, and you just get things done. The team, the boardroom, they go in there, they make a couple of decisions, and they execute. Quick turnover on execution, which is awesome. But then you got to take ownership of your decisions, right? And then a roadmap, a clear roadmap, should be expected. Now, if you're behind governance or a DAO, the roadmap is being built constantly through people's proposals, and they get voted on, and it takes forever sometimes to get those votes going. And because of that, we have that gray area. So who created this? Is this the vision of the DAO or is it the vision of the team? As of now, it's the vision of the team. This is how I get it. So overall, they got some great things that they're looking at. They got Zapdos re-architecture, how blocks overlap. Guys, again, go read this. Is something that they really want to be spearheading. They have a lot of different things happening here. I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but Archon or Archon, I think it's Archon, a novel primary proxy architecture introduces inclusion proofs at 30 milliseconds and cuts block time. Speed, we're talking about speed. And then other namespace is another one that I've been seeing. Slashes latency, namespace scale throughput. This is their block STMV2. Block is a specialized execution engine that powers the Aptos throughput. Speed, tech stack speed. Crypto, what is this? Encrypted mempools, financial transactions need protection. Okay. Event-driven transactions. Okay. So we're seeing road ahead, future, forward thinking, and this is where they're at. Okay. So a little bit of an update with regards to their tech roadmap. Is it enough? If there are other aspects of Aptos, again, their white paper is tech-based, their roadmap is tech-based. It's not, this should be, the roadmap and their white paper should be a well-rounded Web3 vision, not just tech. Tech is great. It's the foundations of blockchain, no doubt. But there's much more. There should be much more. This is a full-on solution. It's not just the tech. How are they integrating what about ecosystem growth? What about tokenomics? Was there anything changed there? Maybe not. The last information we got from the team with regards to tokenomics was from 2022. Guys, that's old. Like, what's happening there? Give us an update. Give us some information. That's where roadmaps come into play. All right, guys. So let's continue. Let's continue. What else we got here? Let's quickly look a little bit more into the team. Before I go here, because I usually look at their LinkedIn's and kind of look into that. I'm gonna go back here and just take a look at these, because it gives us a good briefing of some of the team members. We got the co-founder. These are the ones that are these individuals, these dudes right here, Avery and Mohammed. They are the ones that are literally the face of the organization right now. We got some great talent here. Let's be real. Looked into this dude. Definitely an engineer and a half. We got marketing team. We got partnerships head, architect. We got lots of head of research. This was the one. This was the dude that put out the updated roadmap there on the tech. We got lots of good and advisors. Lots of advisor, general counsel. We got some legal professionals here. I can anticipate that would be a valuable asset, no doubt. So we got lots of good stuff here. But we can't look into everybody on the team, because if you just look at the foundation, there's a lot of people, 64 associates. And then if you look at the Aptos Labs, you got 218 associate members. Guys, this is like a small village. It's massive. And all these people are all there, working, obviously, and putting their careers and their time and their effort, their human capital into this project. So it's a pretty massive one, right? So guys, there's no way I'm going to go through all of these. There's no way. But feel free if you want to creep all these guys and all these people and check them out. Obviously, that's where it's at. But we're going to highlight a few, right? We're going to take a look at Avery. He's an ex-Meta employee that worked. It's right here. I think it's this one. Meta, the team at Novi, which is the Meta project that they were working on with regards to blockchain and L1 blockchain development. So this is where it comes into play here. And then there's other implementations, of course. U.S. Commodity Future Trading Commission, interesting. And then obviously Aptos Labs, principal software engineer at Facebook, as you can see, a Northwestern University, and engineering, bachelor degree in computer science. Guys, he's stacked. Okay, he's got what it takes from background, education, so on. This individual is quite interesting because although he is also stacked in, and what I mean by stacked is he's got the background. Okay, this is his education: University of Rochester Business School, Hunter College, and so on. You can see that this individual, and I'm getting the sense that this individual is literally everywhere. So, as I look at his experience, he's a well-rounded individual within the capital market space, and now well-rounded individual in BlackRock real estate, Royal Bank Canada capital markets, KPMG. Like, these are big. I'm not even sure if this dude is Canadian or not. But the reality is that we're seeing Meta. We're seeing a lot of different. And we're talking about strategic partnerships. We're talking from the business side of things. It's not just the tech. He's from the business tech side of things, which is obviously valuable, right? So he's everywhere. And you can see, like, even his extracurriculars, so to speak, he's volunteering and this and that. And, so I appreciate all of this. So these two for me right now, obviously, the founders, the heavyweights, the ones that right now are leading the Aptos Labs and perhaps even the foundation. It is what it is, guys. Okay, so these are some of the heavyweights, and I did spend some time looking at others. This one, there's many. I'm not singling him out, but there's many that are great talents out there. But we have Alan here, Aptos, MIT technology. He's all over the place too, with tech background, as you can see, MIT. Research assistant and tech assistant. So he seems young and talented, and there's lots of young talent there. I'm not just singling him out. We got 200 plus associate members on the team. I'm sure there's plenty of individuals there that could provide. We got Alexander here. I've seen his face around, and so on and so forth. So just understand, it is what it is. When you have a big team, you expect big things. Okay, so that's that. Now, hopefully we got a well-rounded idea of what Aptos is, what they're planning on bringing for the future, what are their main value propositions and core ideas. Because ultimately, guys, this is all we got from them. It's an L1 that is trying to spearhead capital markets and provide that software solution. All right, guys, as you guys know, I do provide a update, and we're gonna talk about price action in a second, of course, but I do give you guys this summary, and I'm gonna post this all over the socials so that we can, have this as a cheat sheet to kind of remind us what Aptos is all about and what they're doing. This is just a quick summary of what there are in the team and what they got going on, their overall value proposition. Let's look at some of these details. Their ecosystem is good. They've got lots of projects, 330 plus active projects. Again, a native and third-party ecosystem, key focus on DeFi with native applications. The problem is that none of them are really buzzing. None of them are really, really out there. People are really interested in. They're not getting that new car smell, shiny feel, and because of that, we're not getting that volume from retail. Unfortunate, okay, but it is what it is. But we know that institutions can quickly change that sentiment. Let's see what they got. Utility, transaction fees, staking. The problem that I have here with this utility is their governance and their DAO implementation is not clear. They have a reward structure and incentives and a burn mechanism that is also there. But because of their utility of the transactions and the governance, that's where things kind of throw real curveballs for me for their token. So I'm going to have to be very clear here. Until that token utility with regards to governance is super transparent, guys, we have no choice but to be like, look, although there's good utility, it's like every other L1. Transactional fees and staking, rewards for staking on a node, and a burn mechanism that is a must given that there's infinite max supply. How are they outside the box here? Not even with governance would they be outside the box, but at least transparency for their utility would be there. Okay, so it is what it is. I got to be a little bit skeptical, not skeptical, but waiting, anticipating some clarity there. The roadmap, again, it's issued by X. It was clear, lots of definitions there, lots of focus on the tech, which again, it is a tech-based company or project, obviously. Formal roadmap documentation would be useful. It's always useful to have formal documentation. And again, this is why I say the team, the communications, out of those 200 plus people, where is the marketing team communicating, and how are they packaging themselves? From a communications perspective, spread across the socials and spread across many different outlets is not a good way to do that. I would be putting it on a Git book and making that my priority to keep it up to date on a weekly, monthly basis. I know it's a lot of work, but that's where you're going to communicate best, especially for individuals even like me, okay, like that I am going to get to that level. And if I am getting to that level, people in this space, the retail market, is going to want to get into that level also. Okay, so have the Git book. Forget all these blog posts, only blog posts. They're sloppy because they get lost in the metaverse. Let's put it that way. So they are focusing on some cool things with regard to their tech. We did highlight that the Archer block STM, encrypted mempools, event-driven transactions, and namespaces. Go check those out. They're great. They have a lot of detail there provided by the team. The team is 10 out of 10, guys. This is where we quickly shift the need for transparency and the need for clear tokenomics to say, you know what, I trust the team. Why? Because the team is great. Well, that's a very Web 2 traditional mindset. And that's fine if that's the mindset you have, because it's true. The team is decent. It is great. We have led by Mo Mohammed, CEO, and Avery Chin, CTO, both former Meta. Diam leads individuals that worked for Facebook and creating their blockchain implementation. They created their own language and then just left. All right, because I forget the details, but I think Meta dropped the whole concept and then they just left and they moved on with Move, right? So talent from Google, Apple, Amazon, blockchain native organizations, and so on. They're a huge team with talent from across the space and across even Web 2 that can help transition, Web 2 technology to Web 3. And that's the whole concept here. We're seeing that reconfiguration or re-engineering of not only tech, but even the capital markets. So this is where Aptos fits in my opinion. Again, not financial advice of anything what I'm saying here, and even some of these ideas, but this is my speculation. Okay, the socials. Decent socials, you gotta admit, they got lots of followers on Next with minimum engagement. I expected a little bit more, but understanding that their product is not, a shiny project, which means it's not a retail type of product, but it's all good. They're still doing okay. The Discord and Telegram are active with little engagement. There's not much happening there. I went in there, asked a few questions. The moderator answered me, was great, good experience, clean, no issues. However, there's not much. There's no community. There's nothing really happening. There's not much. Okay, so that's unfortunate. Blog and website are well established and well maintained and taken care of, not abandoned. So great stuff there. I just again, what use is to have a website or a blog or a social media platform or whatever with no engagement? So something needs to connect there. Something needs to happen. Okay, so good effort though, 100% good effort. One of the best efforts that I've seen after so many deep dives. Tokenomics, this is where it falls apart for me significantly. So vesting schedule controls the emissions. The vesting schedule is clear on a ramp to distribute, and it's going to continue distributing for the next 50 years or so. Okay, which is expected with their vesting schedule to have slow emissions. However, right now we are seeing a lot of the emissions going towards all the categories. All the categories now are in full force until next September, the September coming up, which means that we have a lot of dilution still in the works. Okay, now the community. This is where things get hectic for me, and I did mention this in a little bit of detail in the video and in the rest of the video in the beginning. So go back and go check it out, that full thing. But I'm going to just quickly summarize here. The community allocation, 51%, is divided between the foundation and Aptos labs. Majority, almost the grand majority, going to the foundation. And then I ask you this: who is the foundation and who's controlling the foundation? It's not a DAO. So who is it? Right? And what are the details behind governance? This is my problem. This is what everybody is having a problem with, in my opinion. Transaction fees are burned to offset inflation. This is normal. So if you see that infinite symbol on CoinGecko or CoinMarketCap or anywhere and max supply is infinite, please, guys, don't be a typical retailer and think of that as a negative. It doesn't have to be a negative, okay? It's all about their countermeasures to control inflation. And like Ethereum and many other L1s out there, they're realizing having the flexibility to issue more tokens is much more important than to have a max supply. And I understand that as long as their burning mechanism is available, and that they're able to control their burning mechanism through a DAO to adapt to market conditions. Because during a bear market where there's no transactions and the inflation rate continues at the same pace, where there's no transaction, what's going to happen with the burn mechanism? It's going to flop and it's going to suffer. Okay, so I'm not gonna try to spread FUD here. This is not FUD. This is reality. So we're hoping that with the DAO proper implementation, when that time comes, they can have a proposal where maybe they rejig the burning and the whole tokenomics aspect to make sure that there's no huge risks of dilution, more dilution throughout a bear market. This is bad enough that people are embracing impact, but at the same time having no burn mechanism active is not a good thing either. Just look at Ethereum as an example from this last bear market, how it worked out. Didn't work out very well for them. Relationships, 8 out of 10. Pretty decent ones, no doubt. No major ones that I can see. And one may argue, like, I'm not including the Microsoft one, but again, I don't feel like that one's a very strategic relationship. It seems like a decent relationship, but not one of which it's going to be one where they work together and collaborate, where they make each other better at the same level type of thing. So Nansen, ecosystem data dashboards, chain analysis, on-chain monitoring, Stripe on-ramps with USDC and on Aptos, Bitso, remittance rails with Latin America. These are great relationships within what they got going on. Again, it would be nice to have a little bit more stronger ones, but at this moment where they're at, it is what it is. There's no other exchanges to be expected, listings to be expected. They're everywhere, guys. So you're going to take this as a positive or a negative. It's all up to you. Very liquid at the current moment because there's lots of liquidity all over this plate, all over these different exchanges. However, at the same time, if you're trading exchange listings, there's no opportunities there. It's everywhere. So is it a bonus? Is it a good thing? I say overall that's a very good thing. Doesn't matter if you're looking for an exchange listing or not. It's good to see lots of liquidity so that you're able to trade, get in and get out. As you can see, we talked about the market cap. It's a max supply, infinite. Totals at 1.17 billion at the current moment, and the total supply right now. So, meaning that the circulating supply is 717 million. And when you compare it to the total, there's still a little bit more tokens that need to be issued, as long as the max supply stays reduced, in the sense that the max supply is infinite, but as long as the total supply doesn't increase, it could still increase depending on what happens there. Okay, so again, because you have infinite, total is just dependent, right? We just got to keep an eye on it. And as such, guys, the price right now is at $3.35 as of today, more or less. We got a little bit of flexibility as I was creating this infographic. So just to understand that we need to have a little bit of leeway there with these prices and numbers altogether. Let's kind of look at what they got here with regards to my overall verdict. Let's kind of reposition just a smidget. Let's see if we can get this in the field of view a little bit better. There we go. We got the verdict overall. Smart contracts, DeFi, L1 in the Move language, proprietary language, like I mentioned, catering mostly to the suggestion that it's for security purposes and safety. Aptos is not a DAO, however, it does have governance. And like I said, I hate repeating myself, but it is what it is. The governance needs more clarity. No fully decentralized treasury. So the treasury or the foundational treasury is not behind the governance. And again, who controls treasury funds? I guess I'm assuming it's the team, or whoever's part of the foundation. I have no idea who votes to be put, get those people in the foundation. I have no idea. Inflation starts at 7% annually and decreases over time. Very little retail interest at the current moment. It's the truth. Retail, you know, people coming in, they're just looking at the Aptos price, and which we're going to do in a second. Microsoft Azure plus AI tools for Web3 devs. Tell me if you think this is a valid, or a relationship that is strategic, like a partnership would be. Is Microsoft waking up in the morning, the CEO saying, you know what, I got to get to work because Aptos and I are going to take over the world? This is what I want to know. This is what I feel a real strategic relationship or partnership is. Guys, I'm on the fence about it when I see big names like that, the Googles, the Microsofts, the and such. That's where things kind of get hectic for me. Is this a strategic partnership? Back to that. Circle stablecoins, native USDC and CCTP enabled. That's great. Move native programming language. Is this friction? This is another thing, because this is another point of contention. Is this friction where, if you're a developer and you're trying to deploy an application on a chain and you're promised security, safety, all of that, no doubt, that's great. But then you got to go and learn how to program a whole new language, understand its modules, understand its APIs, understand everything, learn about it. Who knows how long it's going to take? If you're a wizard, you'll do it quick. If you're not, and it's going to take some time, and that's friction, right? You're asking individuals to spend their human capital and rejig themselves to be focused on Aptos, because if it was EBM, it would be a lot easier because the contracts, the language, everything is already done, and there's no extra work and no friction, no language learning, and none of that needs to happen. So I don't know. Is that friction or is that positive? Supported by top tier VCs, including AI60s, Jump Crypto, Binance Labs, and many more, guys. Is this a positive? For the most part, you would say, hey, they got the capital, they got the runway, good marketing dollars, good capital for this and that, and they have a huge team that all need to eat, and this and this and that. That's fine right now. That's pretty much what's happening. But these guys are going to want a return on their investment. None of these guys are doing this because they want to save the world. All these identities are doing this because they want to capitalize. Okay, so just understand that. Modular and upgradable architecture. We talked about that, the monolithic structure versus, modular structure. This is a key learning experience for a lot of you. Make sure you understand that because it's a value proposition that a lot of modular blockchains are holding on to lately. So the price projection, guys, this is not a prediction. Please, please bear with me here. I'm not telling you the future. I don't know where we're going. I don't know where the price is going to go. I'm just telling you this. If the market does well, and if we continue going to the upside, suggesting that this space, your overall thesis, is that we are going to see crypto do well and bull run price action and all of this and catch up to some of the bigger players, because right now, like I said, Aptos is around $2 billion, slightly above. um, we could see a 4 to 5x. That would be totally fine, reaching around $10 billion and more capital coming in. But I know it's hard to digest, and some people are going to go look at the chart and say, Mike, you're thinking that it's going to get. No, I'm not saying that. It's a projection. I'm saying if the market does well and the total market cap hits maybe $6-7 trillion, $8 trillion, I don't know how many trillions. Right now we're right around three and suffering, and it is what it is. If we can double up and get more capital in the total market, then yes, how much capital will Aptos be able to attract? And Aptos could do well. The problem is right now that chart looks like absolute garbage. This is the biggest issue, right? And it's tough because people are going to come back to say, Mike, you actually think it's going to go to $15? That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that if Aptos can actually attract some of that capital and reach $10 billion with its other L1 competitors, it could reach this, right? And based on the arguments that I provided above, all the details with regard to the project, do you think that is valid? Now, I give it a rating 8 out of 10, and I think that it would even justify 7 out of 10, to be honest, but an 8 out of 10, because ultimately these real world assets, capital market ideas are big picture ideas that are ideas that could literally make huge differences in the way we transact in the financial space. So it does have potential here. And Aptos having heavyweight teams the way they do can open a lot of doors. We're looking at a lot of other projects as well that are trying to spearhead the same narrative, like the Ondos and such, okay, of the world. So far so good. Aptos, guys, it is what it is. Feel free to let me know what you think about Aptos in the comment section below. This way, as a community, we can kind of conclude, is Aptos make it to our portfolio? All right, guys, I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's begin. Let's see what's going on with the Aptos chart, because Aptos in the last little while hasn't been looking the greatest. You got to admit, even looking at market structure and range bound price action, Aptos fell below the range. Now, we can have a little bit of flexibility and move the goalpost just a little bit and say, okay, it fell below this range. The range was well defined right here, well defined, a little bit of a definition by the wick and this market structure right here. But more importantly, it was based on volume, right? That was where I said this range is important. Now we could also move goalposts at the top and the bottom, which we'll do right now. This is defined by volume. You know what? And I'm really compelled. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to remove some of these lines because this price action is old. And now that we've established, because after this, there wasn't much market interest, and requests on the live streams have diminished significantly in the last little while. So we do have a little bit of an imbalance here that we can watch out for. Okay, so just watch out. It's not a big one, so I'm going to remove that. We'll keep this one in because it's a little bit bigger, and I'm more concerned about it because it's more current. Let's say it's down here, right? And then we can kind of like clean this up a little bit. This is becoming less important because it has to do with this price action, and this is the little imbalance that I'm referring to. So let's get rid of this for a second, and let's just leave this one in right here. Okay, for now. So now that we cleaned up, the truth is that in addition to this, I'm going to leave this horizontal because it's somewhat important. As you can see that we actually respected the range within the top and the bottom boundary of this channel. But more importantly, what I want to show you is ultimately what's being tested is this bottom right here. After the major impulsive move that caused this rally, people got in with bags here to push the price way higher. And based on this entire move, which what I want to do now is emphasize the importance of this, because now it's a now or never, and emphasize the importance of the entire range. And I'm going to diminish this. I'm going to make this one smaller so we can emphasize the importance of what's really happening here, right? the truth is that this whole entire range right now needs to be respected, because if it's not respected, Aptos is going to get into a point where it's going to fall to the abyss. This is the abyss of price action. We already fell into there with that systematic failure, to the point that a lot of us now are worried, do we actually fill that wick? I would say, because it's systematic failure, it would be okay to put this wick on the side just a little bit, not to expect that it won't follow through, but to say the reason why it might fill and come retest the bottom of the wick again is not because of the wick itself, because again, it's systematic failure, but because it was intended to get there anyway. Why? Because if it comes down, goes back up, back tests, and get rejected off of this bottom, I'll tell you this, we're going to come down and fill that wick. And it's not because the wicks need to be filled. It's because the market agrees that this price needs to be achieved. And it will come down. And then, after, like, really, there's no real price action or market structure, not even looking left, to tell you where we're going to be getting support. So the biggest issue with Aptos right now is it's in a complete distribution phase, right? Look at this, right? Lower highs, lower lows, right? All throughout this. And with this sweep here after this, that was a big hit, a massive hit. Because this range right here was accumulation, manipulation. Now we're in a manipulative state. And the question is that, do we start buying? I'll tell you this, because of this last level and no more other levels, this was an interesting one where you could have put a stop loss in and just hung on tight to see for the reversal. And if you did the right thing. Because ultimately, again, you took a shot and didn't work out. Friday spanked all of us, and here we are, right? Now, where's the next level where you need to take another shot? Because again, you can't just stop, right? You gotta identify your levels of liquidity. This is the last level of liquidity that I would be ever interested in Aptos. Now, based on this, what's happening right here, now or never. There's no more. Because if we do fall, like I said, I'm going to play hard to get. I'm going to be waiting for a market structure here that suggests a reversal. And if I'm going to take another shot, it's because I'm going to be waiting for that market structure to give me a good risk to reward ratio, slap a stop loss below it, and maybe go see if it reclaims some of its price action. In order for me to be bullish on Aptos, we need to stay above this horizontal. And that would be like the last level of bullishness that I have left in me from a market structure perspective, is this right here. That's it. If it bounces here, maybe we, sweep, we do whatever kind of manipulation here, but we need to get back above, backtest and spring and get going. If we do not do any of this and we start falling, closing daily candles, backtesting, making lower highs and lower lows, forget it. This is done. You need to cut yourself off eventually and just be fair, get it over with, right? It's like if you get on an elevator, right? And you get on the wrong elevator. It's better to get off early before you go too far. And then there's a long way down. So it's the same way. Right now, once we get an indication that we're on the wrong way, the wrong train, right? If you get on the wrong train, the further you go, the more it's going to cost you to get back home. In this case, you don't want to get on this train if it's on the downturn. We want evidence that we're ready to go back up. We've already taken a big hit from the range highs. The next target should be range highs again, and as long as we can get some sort of market structure shift down here, I'm in. And if you're getting into a position right now, just get in with the position on spot. That's what I would be doing. Again, not financial advice, guys, and I would be dropping to lower time frames and looking for a market structure that suggests a higher high or a higher low. I don't see any of that here on the 4-hour just yet. To be honest, I like this. This is a 4-hour structure right here. I like this. It's a nice V recovery. Beautiful. A nice little support right above. Beautiful. This is looking great, right? And it's a lower time frame setup, so be careful. This is a very nice one, right? And it looks like it's already breaking out. If we can get back into the $3.20, that might be another area to get long again if it holds the support. But I'll tell you this, if it breaks below $3.20, range lows it is, the entry is back at $3.13. And if we break below here, get out, because we're coming down for a lower low. And this became an inducement for accumulation, manipulation, and then distribution. And that's a problem. But without volume here, and we're not getting that much, it's a little bit. If it's an expansion, it needs to be sustainable, where we get a nice consolidation here for continuation. If it fails and gets back into the range, get out, because it's coming back to the bottom of the range, very likely, and in fact, it might even break down, coming down for a distribution, and we don't know how low we go. So this is a tradable moment. I hope you guys can see that. Very tradable. By the time you watch this video, it might be done and over with. But guys, I'm live every single night looking for setups with you guys, looking for opportunities. I release daily video updates on various projects throughout the space. And more importantly, guys, I'm on the Discord all the time trying to figure out how to navigate this market as a community. Guys, if I've offered you any value in this deep dive video, do the channel a massive favor. Slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.